will be over KSW's one and only Titan. Titan's gimmick is when your opponent hits a lead card, you may discard one card to blank its text. It is a very good gimmick. Some people don't like it, and I think it is amazing. So, starting off for the deck, I've got 1 through 3. I've got the volley of strikes, the grapple for position, and the clutch onto opponent. All three giving me pluses to my. This one gives me +1 to my strike for turn rolls, +1 grapple, and +1 submission. The volley of strikes will put him up to a 10 strike. Grapple for position will put him up to 9 grapple, and the clutch onto opponent will put him to a 8 submission. And I'm running those instead of stops in him because obviously I'm not too worried about leads, and if I can get any of these out, that'll be a benefit. Alright, and then 4, 5, and 6, you have your standard stops. Stop any follow-up strike, follow-up submission, or follow-up grapple. 7, 8, 9, I've got a jump kick, scoop slam, and a rolling armbar. I've got the rolling headlock, not armbar. I've got the jump kick and the rolling headlock in there to aid the gimmick. And the reason I chose these specific ones instead of the ones with a higher ability is because my agility is a 5 and my technique for this one is a 6. So if I'm rolling my 2 lowest skills, there's a good chance my opponent's going to win the turn roll, and I could just pick these up from my discard pile if they're down there, and then I can use them with my gimmick. So if they try to scoop slam me, I can just discard the rolling headlock blanket. And scoop slam, I have that in there just for the shuffle, draw 1 or shuffle 4 back. I always like to have at least some cards with the shuffle back ability in case I need to get some cards back into my deck. 10, 11, 12. I've got a back kick, a sweeping takedown, and a leg trap. I've got these 2 in there for the turn roll bonuses. And the back kick, it's the alternate back kick. It wouldn't be one of my decks if I didn't have cards in here to bury cards in my opponent's discard pile. It says bury 2 cards in your opponent's discard pile for each other lead you have in play. That comes in handy a lot. So if it's near the end of the game, my opponent doesn't have a discard, and I have a few leads out, I'm gonna put their deck back however I want it to be. And it can really slow them down. 13, 14, and 15, I have running lariat. If my strike skill is greater than my opponent, stop any grapple. My strike is a 9. I just throw that in there just to maybe stop my opponent. Maybe, the 7 seals. If your power is greater than your opponent's power, stop any submission. Put 1 card from your discard pile on top of your deck. Really good card. And the double arm bar, or double arm lock. Both of these are opportunities to get some finishes back or some cards I really need in my hand. 16, 17, 18. These are a little bit scattered, but I have the +2 to my turn roll. Obviously, I have stalling suplex. That's in most of my decks, and the sleeper hold, just in case I need to draw some cards. 19, 20, and 21. I have leg lock and elbow strikes. I usually try not to take away my stops in these areas, but since I do have the 7 seals, I'm running the press slam, and the press slam is just going to aid my finish strike even more. Because if my finish strike says if my opponent has 3 or more leads in play, their first and second breakout rolls are -2, and it's a +1 to strike. So if they do have 3 or more leads out, and I hit them with a press slam, there's no way they're going to stop it. 22, 23, and 24. I have the flying knee strike. I searched my deck for discard for 1 strike, put it on top of my shuffled deck. That's just to help get that finished strike out there. Set up the table. Flip 4, add a grapple from your discard pile to your hand. All finished grapples have the added text. Your finish rolls are +1. I added that in there for the finished grapple because, one second, let me find it. It's +3 to technique and +1 to grapple. So right off the bat, it's going to give me +1 on my finish roll, and I'll have the technique will go up to a +4, giving me a 10, and the grapple will be a +2, giving me another 10, and then my power goes up to an 11. So I think that it's pretty good. And nerve hold, shuffle 2 cards from your discard pile, and then draw 2. Do that to build my hand up a little bit, get some cards back that I need. 25, 26, 27, your basic stops. 28, 29, and 30. 3 pretty powerful finishes. The chopping block is pretty garbage up until my opponent gets 3 or more leads in play. It gives me a +1 to strike. I mean, it's not terrible. It gives me 2 10s, but if my opponent has 3 or more leads in play, their first and second breakout rolls are -2, which can be pretty devastating. To the dungeons, +3 technique, +1 grapple. Just some good boost off of that. And Battle of the Queen, that gives me 2 10s, and my opponent randomly buries 2 cards in their hand. Really, really good, especially if you keep throwing it. Well, that's my deck tech for the Titan. I hope you enjoyed.